After months of constant harassment from my husband's ex, her family, and even his kids, I've decided to file for divorce. Despite trying to set boundaries, things only escalated with his family and his kids, who started turning against me. Hey Reddit! I honestly don't know where to start, but I'm at my wit's end and need some advice. I, 28 female, have been married to my husband, 30 male, for 4 years now, and lately, it feels like I'm living in a nightmare. I love him, but the way his kids and his in-laws treat me is making my life absolutely miserable. First off, my husband has 2 kids from a previous marriage. Let's call them Emma, 12 female, and Liam, 10 male. They live with us full-time, and while they're generally good kids, it's his ex-wife and her family who are causing all the problems. Ever since I married my husband, his ex and her family have made it clear they don't like me. At first, I tried to be nice, but over time it became obvious they saw me as a threat and began treating me with cold indifference. But what's worse is the constant harassment I get about everything. It started with house chores, and it's honestly been a nightmare. My husband's kids, especially Emma, act like they don't have to lift a finger around the house. I'm not asking for them to do everything, but simple tasks like making their beds, cleaning up after dinner, or taking out the trash shouldn't be a battle. I've tried asking them nicely, but it's always met with eye rolls, excuses, or outright defiance. It's like I'm the bad guy for expecting them to do something as basic as cleaning up after themselves. Every time I ask, Emma will huff and puff, roll her eyes, or say, "Why do I have to do this? You're the one who's home all day." Liam just ignores me and acts like I never spoke to him. I'm not asking for perfection here. I just want them to contribute to the household, especially when it comes to small tasks that anyone, no matter their age, should be able to do. But the worst part is when they sit there and complain about everything, like it's some huge burden. Meanwhile, I'm running around trying to keep everything in order, making sure their homework is done, cooking meals, and doing the majority of the cleaning. It feels like I'm doing it all while they sit around like nothing is expected of them. And when I try to talk to my husband about it, I get the same dismissive response every time. He'll say things like, "They're just kids, you know?" Or "You knew what you were getting into when you married me," like that somehow excuses them from basic responsibility. He makes it sound like I'm being unreasonable for wanting them to do their part. When I try to explain how overwhelmed I feel or how it's affecting my mental health, he'll just say, "Don't take it so seriously, they're just kids," or brush it off completely. It's honestly infuriating, and I'm left feeling like I'm the one in the wrong for wanting some basic respect and contribution from the kids who live in this house. It's so exhausting, and I'm starting to feel like I'm invisible in my own home. But that's not even the worst part. His ex and her family have started getting way too involved in our lives, and now I'm getting messages from his ex's sister telling me that I'm not doing enough for the kids and should be more of a mother figure. The guilt trips have been relentless, and it feels like I can't catch a break. They've turned everything into a personal attack, blaming me for everything that goes wrong with the kids, whether it's their grades, their behavior, or even if they're just having a bad day. The constant barrage of criticism makes me feel like I'm walking on eggshells, afraid that even the smallest mistake will lead to another accusation. If Emma doesn't finish her homework, I'm told I'm not being a responsible role model or letting her fall behind. If Liam has a meltdown or acts out, I'm the one being accused of not showing enough empathy or not being supportive enough. It's like everything that goes wrong is suddenly my fault, and I'm expected to drop everything to fix it. And when I try to set any boundaries, even something as simple as needing a little space or time for myself, I get more harsh criticism. His ex's family will jump in with messages like, "You're supposed to be helping with them, not making them feel bad for being kids." The guilt is suffocating, and it feels like no matter what I do, it's never enough. If I try to explain that I'm not trying to be their mom, I met with more accusations of being selfish or uncaring. The emotional manipulation is exhausting, and I can't seem to escape it. The real kicker, the constant harassment over money. My husband's ex is always reminding us that we need to help out more with the kids' expenses, like somehow we haven't already been contributing enough. We've been paying child support for years and yet it's never enough for her. It's like they think we're rolling in cash and should just be handing it out whenever they ask. We try to budget and plan for our own needs, but it doesn't matter. Every month, there's something new she demands extra money for, whether it's school supplies, sports fees, or extra tutoring. And if we say no, she acts like we're neglecting the kids. It's exhausting. It feels like there's no end to the financial pressure, no matter how much we already give. Recently, it got even worse. His ex's brother reached out to me, texting me to ask for extra help for the kids' school activities again. I explained that we had already contributed and that we had a budget we needed to stick to, but he wasn't having it. He went off on me, accusing me of being selfish and not understanding the responsibility of having children. He even said that if I really cared about the kids, I would just find a way to help out more, implying that I didn't truly care about them because I wasn't blindly giving more money. It's like they all think money grows on trees, and if we can't or don't want to give more, we're somehow bad people. I'm at my breaking point. Every time we turn around, there's another financial demand or guilt trip waiting for us, and it's honestly draining. It feels like no matter how much we give, we're never enough, and no one ever seems to appreciate the effort we're already putting in. I've had multiple arguments with my husband about all of this, but every single time, he sides with the kids and his family. It's like I'm speaking a different language. He'll say things like, they're just trying to make sure their kids are taken care of, or they're just looking out for what's best for the kids, as if that somehow justifies the constant emotional and financial strain I'm under. It's beyond frustrating. I feel like I'm constantly being gaslighted, like I'm the one who's being unreasonable for wanting some boundaries or respect. I've tried explaining to him over and over again how this is affecting my mental health, my sense of self, and my peace of mind. But it just doesn't seem to register. His response is always the same. You knew what you were getting into when you married me. Or it's just the way things are with blended families. The guilt trips are relentless. Every time I think I'm setting a boundary, they act like I'm attacking them. It's never enough. The kids are constantly being told they deserve more, and I'm the one left feeling like I'm failing them. Whenever I try to stand up for myself, I'm hit with accusations like, you don't care about the kids, or you're being too harsh. Then there's the money, the money. I'm constantly being reminded that I'm not doing enough, that I need to give more, help more, spend more. It's like they think I have an endless supply of resources and that I should just give and give without ever getting anything in return. My husband's ex always finds new ways to ask for money, whether it's for school activities, extra fees, or emergency expenses, and no matter how much we already give. It's never enough. I feel like I'm being drained, both emotionally and financially, and it's starting to break me down. What's hurting the most, though, is that my husband doesn't seem to understand. It's starting to feel like he isn't even on my side. Every time I bring up how overwhelmed I am or how much pressure I'm under, he tells me to let it go, or that I shouldn't take it personally. But how can I not take it personally when his family treats me like I'm a walking ATM and his kids act like I'm their personal servant? When I ask for help with the house or for the kids to pitch in, I get met with resistance, and my husband makes excuses for them. It's like no one sees my side of things. The house is a mess, the kids are being difficult, and yet I'm the one expected to keep everything running smoothly while everyone else ignores their responsibilities. It's like I'm being buried under this mountain of expectations, guilt, and demands, and no one seems to care about what I'm going through. The constant requests for money, the lack of support when it comes to the kids, the endless criticism, it's too much. I'm drowning, and it feels like no one even notices or cares. I can't keep living like this, where every effort I make is taken for granted, and I'm constantly expected to do more. I've tried to communicate my needs, but it always feels like I'm the bad guy. I'm trying to be a good partner, a good stepmom, and contribute to this family, but it feels like I'm the one carrying the weight of everything while everyone else is just coasting along, free from any real responsibility. I don't know how much longer I can take this. It feels like my needs and boundaries don't matter at all. It's like I've completely lost myself in this role of wife and stepmom and have nothing left for me. I'm exhausted physically, mentally, emotionally, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm trying to be patient, but I'm at the point where I'm not sure how much more I can give without losing myself completely. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but I'm honestly at my breaking point. I love my husband, but I feel like I'm losing myself in this constant drama. Has anyone else been in a similar situation? How do you handle a partner who's not on your side when their kids and in-laws are making your life hell? Do I just keep putting up with it, or is it time to start setting some serious boundaries, even if it means causing more tension in the family? Any advice would be really helpful right now. Update: I just want to start by saying thank you to everyone who replied to my original post. The advice, empathy, and validation have meant the world to me. I've been processing everything, and after a lot of thought, I've decided to take some steps to address the issues in my marriage and my relationship with my husband's ex's family. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but I wanted to share an update and answer some of your questions. Question 1. Why hasn't your husband been more supportive? Have you had an honest conversation about this? Yes, I've tried to have many conversations with him about how I'm feeling. The problem is that every time I bring it up, he brushes it off or minimizes my feelings. I've said things like, I feel like I'm doing everything and getting nothing in return. And he'll say something like, you knew what you were getting into, or I need you to be patient with the kids and my family. He's definitely not been as supportive as I need him to be, and honestly, it's been really hurtful. I've realized that part of the problem is that he's incredibly codependent with his ex and her family. He feels guilty for the divorce and wants to make things right by always giving in to their demands. I've told him that I'm feeling neglected and overburdened, but I don't think he fully grasps how much this is taking a toll on me. At this point, I've told him we need to have a serious conversation about his priorities and how he plans to handle his ex's constant interference. Question 2. Have you thought about setting clearer boundaries with your husband and his family? Yes, after reading your comments, I've come to the conclusion that I need to be much firmer with my boundaries. I've allowed my husband and his family to walk all over me for too long. I've started telling my husband that if the harassment over money doesn't stop, I won't be able to continue supporting the family like this. I told him that if his ex's family reaches out to me directly for money again, I'm going to block them. I also set clear boundaries about house chores and told him that if the kids aren't helping around the house, I won't do everything for them anymore. It's been hard, and he's not thrilled about it, but I can't keep sacrificing my mental health for everyone else. I'm hoping this leads to more respect from both my husband and his family. Question 3. How did your husband react when you set those boundaries? I'm not going to lie, it wasn't pretty at first. He's used to being the peacekeeper and constantly giving into his ex and her family. When I told him I couldn't keep doing everything and that I wasn't going to just sit back and let his ex's family guilt-trip me anymore, he got defensive. He said I was being unfair and that I wasn't understanding how hard it is to co-parent. He also suggested that maybe I was just feeling overwhelmed and needed to relax. But I stuck to my guns. I told him that I wasn't going to feel guilty for wanting basic respect and that we needed to figure this out as a team. He didn't like it, but after a few tense days, he agreed to have a serious conversation about how we could handle his ex and her family. We haven't come up with a perfect solution yet, but I can tell he's starting to see where I'm coming from. So here is the update. As of now, things have been somewhat tense at home. My husband and I are trying to find a middle ground between his family's expectations and my need for peace. He's agreed to talk to his ex about not asking me for money anymore, but I'm not holding my breath. It's hard to trust that he'll follow through after everything that's happened. On the bright side, setting boundaries about house chores has been a little easier. The kids are grumbling about having to pitch in more, but I've made it clear that I won't be doing everything for them. My husband is still adjusting, but I think he's starting to understand that I'm not trying to be a bad stepmom. I just need some help and respect. It's a work in progress, but I'm hoping this will lead to less stress in the long run. I'll update you all again soon. Thank you again for all the advice, support, and kind words. It's really helping me navigate this. The drama continues ... So this has been an incredibly wild few weeks, and I wanted to give you all an update. Things have not gone as I hoped, and honestly, I'm still reeling from everything that's happened. I thought setting boundaries would help, but it seems like it just opened the floodgates for more drama. The boundary setting backfire. After I told my husband about needing space and setting clear boundaries with his ex and her family, things got even more chaotic. He did have a conversation with his ex about the money issue, and I thought it was going okay. He told me he'd put his foot down and said that we wouldn't be giving extra money for their school activities anymore. He swore it was over, and I was cautiously optimistic, but ... that didn't last long. A week later, I received a message from his ex's brother, the one who always asks for money, demanding we pay for a last-minute field trip for the kids. When I told him no and that we already contribute enough, I got an earful. The message went from "I hope you reconsider" to "you're a selfish stepmom who doesn't care about these kids." Then his ex's family started posting cryptic statuses on social media about ungrateful people who don't care about family and blood is thicker than water. I was absolutely blindsided. I showed my husband the messages, and he actually tried to defend his ex's family. He said, maybe we should help out. They're just trying to make sure the kids don't miss out. It was like the whole conversation we had about boundaries never even happened. I completely lost it. I told him that I was done being guilt-tripped by his ex's family and that if he couldn't stand up to them, we had a serious problem. He said he needed time to think and didn't want to rock the boat. The ultimate betrayal. This next part still blows my mind. A few days after the argument, I found out from a mutual friend that my husband's ex had been talking behind my back about how I wasn't doing enough for her kids, specifically, how I'd never be a real mom to them. Apparently, she's been bad-mouthing me to everyone who will listen, including my husband's family. She's been telling them I'm just selfish and don't understand the responsibility of raising children. And guess what? My husband never said a word to me about any of it. I confronted him about it, and he just shrugged, saying, "It's just her opinion. This was the final straw." I couldn't believe that after everything, he was still letting her influence our marriage. The more I tried to fight for my position, the more it felt like I was fighting an army. His family, his ex, and even the kids were all ganging up on me. The decision, I spent the next few days completely isolated. I just couldn't get over how everything had escalated so quickly. The constant tension, the guilt, the manipulation, it was suffocating. I realized I was more stressed out than ever and just couldn't see a future where I felt respected. It was like no matter how hard I tried, I would always be the villain in their eyes. I made the difficult decision to leave. I packed up my things while my husband was at work, and when he came home, I was gone. I sent him a message telling him that I needed space to figure things out. That I couldn't live like this anymore, constantly walking on eggshells and being made to feel like the enemy. I'm currently staying with a friend, and while I'm still processing everything, I feel a sense of relief. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm finally able to breathe without feeling like I'm being suffocated by other people's expectations. The kids have become increasingly hostile since I set boundaries. At first, I tried to do my best as a step in trying to show them love, creating a home where they could feel comfortable. But ever since my husband started defending his ex's family over me, it's been like they've all turned on me. They've been making passive-aggressive comments about how I don't understand what they've been through and how I'll never replace their mom. They've even started getting involved in the drama between me and their mother, sending me nasty texts accusing me of being selfish and just using their dad for his money. At first, I ignored it, but it kept escalating. One of the kids, let's call them Sophie, even called me a homewrecker during a heated argument when I suggested they needed to start pitching in around the house. Sophie yelled that I wasn't their real mom, and how dare I expect them to do chores when their real mom was so much more understanding. It broke my heart. I thought we could have a positive relationship, but at this point, it feels like my presence only makes things worse. The last straw came when my husband's ex-wife showed up to meet me at my friend's house one night. I had no idea she was coming, but she arrived with my husband saying she needed to talk to me in person. Apparently, she had been gossiping about me to everyone, including my stepkids, telling them I was taking advantage of their father. She sat me down in the living room, trying to convince me that I was a bad influence on her kids and that I made a good decision to step aside so now the kids can heal from the trauma of having me in their lives. I told her to leave. The nerve. And then my husband just stood there doing nothing, like I was the one in the wrong. He didn't even say a word, just stood there silently. After that, I had enough. I told him that I couldn't keep doing this. It was too much. I couldn't fight the whole world, his ex, his family, and the kids all while feeling completely unsupported. I told him I was filing for divorce, and this time, I meant it. Since then, things have gotten even more dramatic. My husband has been texting and calling nonstop, saying he's sorry and begging me to come back. He's even reached out to my family, trying to get them to convince me to return. But the way I see it, I've done my part. I've been patient. I've tried to set boundaries. But when it comes to family, he's always choosing them over me. I'm done being the bad guy in this situation. His kids have been sending me messages too, mostly angry ones, calling me a terrible stepmom and blaming me for the whole situation. It's heartbreaking, but at the same time, I know it's not my fault. I don't know where I go from here. I'm still processing everything, and I'm not sure if I'll go back or if the relationship is completely over. I've learned that sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you can't control other people's behavior, especially when they refuse to respect your boundaries. Right now, I'm focusing on taking care of myself and figuring out what I really want. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm starting to see that my peace of mind is worth more than all the drama I've been forced to endure. I wanted to give one last update since so many of you were kind enough to check in and offer your support. After everything that's happened, constant pressure from my husband's ex and her family, the non-stop guilt trips, and the complete lack of respect for my boundaries, I've made the decision to file for divorce. It's been a long, painful journey, but I can't keep sacrificing my peace for a relationship that isn't giving me the support I need. Things with my husband just never got better. Despite all the conversations, the attempts to get him to understand where I was coming from, he's continued to prioritize his ex's family over me. He still expects me to contribute financially and emotionally to the kids, even though I have my own responsibilities and boundaries. He won't stop letting them use him as their emotional punching bag, And as much as I tried to make it work, I've realized I deserve so much more than being treated like an afterthought. Hello, so here is the final update. I've officially filed for divorce. It's been a long road, but I'm finally at peace with my decision. My ex-husband is still trying to convince me to come back, that he'll make everything right, but I don't care anymore. I'm done being the scapegoat. As for the kids, I'm heartbroken that it ended this way. I wish things could have been different, but I can't keep being dragged through the mud just because they were taught to see me as the enemy. I've learned a lot through this process about standing up for myself, about setting boundaries, and most importantly, about not allowing anyone to make me feel like I'm less than. I don't regret the decision to leave. It was hard, but I'm so much stronger now. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this, and I hope this story helps others who may be struggling with similar situations. You deserve respect, love, and peace. If your family or partner can't give you that, it's okay to walk away. You're not the villain for choosing your mental health and happiness.